Hi there, this is Camera B and we're reviewing The Big Short.
The Big Short is about four denizens of the high finance world that predict the housing crisis of the 2008s, and they try and take on the big banks for their greed and their lack of forethought.
What did you know going in?
Pretty much nothing. Saw the trailer, looked very good, saw a very all-star cast, and I knew it was about finance, and I love me some nice financial film.
I vaguely knew it was about financial stuff, that was about it.
I expected a fast-paced film centered around finance.
Well, I mean, I expected nothing, basically. And I think that's fine for this film. It's a good thing to go in not knowing what it's going to be about.
Yeah.
So let's work through it then. Cinematography, first of all. What did you think?
I loved it. I found it very, very good.
Quite handheld, wasn't it, in the cinematography style?
Yeah.
Which, it kind of worked. It was shot like a documentary then. I did like that. There were moments, though, where, and I said this to you when we came out, I just wished they'd find focus.
I love that. I love the handheld documentary style of it. I liked the fact that sometimes they wouldn't find focus for a while. It made it real. I liked the close-ups where they struggled to keep track of the actors' heads because, again, it just made it feel real.
It did, yeah, and it really helped with that fast-paced feel.
And the close-ups, they included film grain. Now, I'm not entirely sure if they used film to do this or if that was that was done in post, but I loved the use of the film grain.
And I think what I did like about the cinematography is it told you a lot right from the first opening. So it was a case of you knew it was going to be that documentary style kind of thing, even without anybody saying anything.
Yeah, and it's helpful because of the subject matter is so real, and you're expecting a film like this to be dramatic and to exercise artistic license in their storytelling. But this helped to say, no, this is actually happening, this is real. We didn't take much artistic license in this.
Yeah, I didn't think of that. It did. It made it feel like it was just a real documentary. That's a good point.
The intro was very well done. They had very quick cuts of news bulletins, little bits of real footage, but then intermixed with just black screens in between to let you process it.
Yeah, I love anything like that. Steve Jobs did the same thing where there was a transition in time, they used news footage. That's always going to be a winner for me. Okay, next thing on the list then, sound and music. It was good, I thought.
It wasn't particularly bad.
There were a couple of songs that were well used, sort of well-known songs. I believe there was a Guns N' Roses song, was it?
Yeah, Sweet Child of Mine.
Yeah, so that kind of, there are feelings associated with those sort of songs as it is, and it played on that a little bit.
I never really got the feeling that there was music played as a soundtrack. Really felt like there was more natural sound.
Yeah, which I think that fits in with the whole documentary idea, so it just all flows really.
Particularly with the effects, you'll hear a phone vibrating, and it won't cut to a phone vibrating because that's just the sound of the world.
Yeah, the sound mixing was nicely done, and everything was sort of clear, and it worked.
So script-wise, I felt it was very nice. The dialogue was fast-paced, almost battle-ish in style. It reminds me of Sorkin-esque dialogue. It's very ping-pongy dialogue there. Maybe not quite as polished as Sorkin's, but I think that helped with the documentary style because Sorkin's dialogue isn't particularly analogous to real dialogue. So this one had little mistakes, it had ers and ahs, had swearing, and that really helped because it is documentary style, but of course it is a film, so you want it to be fast-paced and exciting. One
of the things I found with the dialogue is that there's a tendency in films that when there's really fast-paced stuff, you kind of end up with mumbling sort of going on. You don't get all the words. In this, I could pick up pretty much every word. I don't know if that's because it was well written or well performed, but it worked for me.
Yeah, and I think that's a testament to the acting and probably a lot of takes to get the clarity in that.
Yeah, so acting then, we should probably move on to that.
Fantastic. Perfect acting by pretty much everyone. Steve Carell, I'm glad he's looking for more dramatic roles instead of his usual comedy roles.
The first time we see Steve Carell and he's walking into that meeting and he has he's on the phone, all that sort of thing, I thought, oh no, here's another just a completely typical Steve Carell role. But as it went on, that adapted and that fit, and it turns out that actually that is the way that character would be.
And Christian Bale, fantastic as a supporting actor.
Yeah, it was really good. It was a convincing performance. I did enjoy that.
And Ryan Gosling, somehow he made me like such a slimebag character.
Yes, he absolutely did, right from the very beginning. And I think it's just that interaction with the camera that did that. And it was kind of like, you're in on the secret. So by association, he's, I like him. That's fine, I'm part of the crowd.
His dismissal of other people, instead of being aggravating because we're watching it from the outside in, it just turns funny. Brad Pitt, wow, fantastic. That bit when he turns around and he says, these are real people losing their homes, and even though you predicted it, you're the one celebrating that it's happening. And it really hit you hard in that moment. That was very well done.
Yeah, I think that's basically all of the acting is like that. It was, well, there's so many strong characters really that this film was talking about. You saw each of the characters, the acting just conveyed that entire message. It worked for me, it really did.
So, the plot, riveting. What did you think?
Yeah, I agree. It was, I mean, it's difficult when you take something that really happened to kind of get that over into a film and in 2 hours convey years worth of stuff, but I thought they did a fantastic job of the lead up, then everything actually going wrong, and then even cleaning up at the end a bit. It was all there.
Yeah, and even the bits where they slowed it down, it never felt like it was going too slow. It still felt like there was this fast-pacedness behind everything.
I think it kind of helped having so many different characters going on, because you had very distinct groups within it.
Yeah.
So being able to switch to one of those, okay, no time may have passed, but we can now catch up with somebody else, I think that really helps that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Now, during the film, they had to explain a lot of financial terms.
They did.
And they did this with celebrity cameos. Now, I understand that that's a critique on how people consume their media now, and they need it fed to them by celebrities rather than people who actually know what they're saying.
With a film like this, you can't assume that everybody knows everything that you're talking about. You've got to bring the audience up to a consistent level. And to do that, if you're going to do that in some sort of dry financial way, I think you'd lose half the audience at that point. Yeah. This meant that for those people who already knew the stuff, it was funny, they could take something away from it. For those people who maybe didn't get what they were talking about, it was informative, it was helpful. And kind of having a celebrity, a friendly face if you like, telling you these things, it makes it a bit easier to understand it.
And I liked how they shot that. They shot it in a way that was so clearly fake in comparison to the documentary, and it's just riddled with continuity errors when they do those cameos.
The only complaint I really had about them, as they were, I thought it worked really well, and I was definitely grateful when they came along sometimes, just thinking, I want to make sure that I'm understanding this correctly. There were a couple of situations there where I thought, this is something they could have explained, an opportunity they could have used one of these, and they didn't. For example, at the very end of the film, in fact what the whole film is sort of based upon, is them selling off these shorts, and it's just a case there of, you and I talked a bit about that when we came out, so clearly we both have different ways of thinking about that. It would have been nice to have a celebrity face there, just say, okay, this is what's happening now.
Yeah, exactly. And I understand why they didn't, because it is the closing, and really that's past the documentary section of it, but it really would have helped here, even to have a character explain it. I did find the explanations, they felt patronizing, and I think they were supposed to feel patronizing because obviously I didn't understand what they were saying until they explained it to me like I was a child. So I think that was the point.
Yeah. What I liked about the whole film, and it's probably plot as well, is how much we felt as viewers a part of what was going on. Okay, it wasn't going to directly affect us at that point, this is past, this has happened, we know what's going to happen at the end, but I still felt the jeopardy going through.
Yeah, the intensity of it.
Yeah.
It was built fantastically well, and you feel so a part of every character, you're rooting for them, and it's only until Brad Pitt turns around and says, look, this is real, people are losing their houses, and then that hits you hard because you were rooting for that as well.
Yeah, and you feel just as bad as they did at that moment. Yeah. In overall summary then, this is one of those films that I watched and I thought, that's brave, that's a new take on something, and for me that's going to win it a lot of points.
I completely agree, very innovative. I got the feeling of Fincher and Sorkin as being inspirations perhaps for this film.
I think it would have been a different matter if we'd have watched this and there was bad acting or bad script or bad plot. The fact that it was brave, and the fact that it did things in a slightly different way only worked because everything else supported that.
Exactly, and I think even elevated it to beyond what it could have been. Fantastic film. I would rate it. Definitely go to see this because I feel like this is the beginnings of a very good career for Adam McKay.
Yeah, and it's not something that you've got to be really up on the financial crisis or interested in that sort of thing to watch. Anybody can go and see this and can enjoy it and should do. Well, that's it for this episode of Camera B, but we'll be back at the same time next week with another film review. Remember, you can find out more by going to h9blogger.com/camerab. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, and of course you can like this video. Until next time though, bye bye.